The morning sun beamed through the windows of the iconic ABC studio, where the view was already buzzing with high-stakes energy. Viewers tuned in expecting the usual sharp commentary. But today's show promised something more electric. Meghan Markle had been invited as a guest to speak about her recent humanitarian projects, her evolving role in public life, and of course, the constant media scrutiny she endures. Dressed in a crisp white blouse and tailored navy trousers, Meghan carried herself with a composed grace that caught the attention of even the most skeptical audience members. As she exchanged pleasantries with Whoopi Goldberg and Sarah Haynes, there was an undercurrent of tension brewing. Joy Behar sat at the far end of the table, arms folded, eyes already narrowed, ready to strike. From the moment the segment began, it was clear that this wasn't going to be just another lighthearted morning show chat. It didn't take long for the conversation to veer into uncomfortable territory. Meghan was discussing her recent trip to Nigeria, where she highlighted female education and mental health awareness. Her tone was calm and measured, her anecdotes sincere. The audience responded with warm applause. That's when Joy Behar leaned in, voice tinged with sarcasm. "You know, Meghan," she began, "it's fascinating how someone who fled royal life because of too much attention keeps finding herself in front of a camera." The room went still. The smile on Meghan's face froze as the words sank in. Whoopi's eyes widened, while Sunny Hostin shifted awkwardly in her seat. Meghan, ever poised, took a slow breath before replying. "Joy, raising awareness for causes that matter to me isn't the same as chasing fame. I'm using my platform, not selling it." Her words were sharp but dignified, drawing a clear line between intention and insult. Joy wasn't finished. With a theatrical scoff, she rolled her eyes and retorted, "Platform or not, the royal family wasn't stopping you from doing charity work. But you made it sound like Buckingham Palace was Alcatraz. Let's be real." The audience gasped, murmurs spreading through the crowd. Meghan leaned forward, her voice low but firm. "I left for my family's mental well-being. That decision didn't come easily, and it certainly wasn't theatrical. But mocking it on live TV? That says more about you than me." Her calm response carried a weight that silenced the room. Yet Joy seemed undeterred, perhaps even emboldened by the rising tension. She quipped, "I just call it like I see it, honey. If you want privacy, maybe start by staying off Netflix." Meghan's jaw tightened and her knuckles widened around the mug she held, but she didn't raise her voice. Whoopi quickly tried to change the subject, steering the conversation toward Meghan's work with girls' education. Meghan smiled and answered graciously, but the shadow of Joy's jabs lingered. As Meghan spoke about her passion for uplifting marginalized voices, Joy interjected again. "But don't you think some people see this as performative? I mean, it's a little rich coming from a duchess." Meghan didn't hesitate. "Being born into privilege and choosing not to share it is the real problem, Joy. I've chosen a different path, one with purpose, not performance." The studio audience erupted into applause, with some even standing up. The tension cracked, replaced by solidarity. Joy appeared taken aback, not by Meghan's words, but by the audience's reaction. She leaned back in her chair, suddenly quieter, yet her smirk never left her face. She wasn't used to being outplayed, especially not by someone she deemed a media darling. Behind the scenes, producers were panicking. The segment had gone far off script, and there were murmurs in the control room about whether to cut to commercial. But Meghan's composure made it impossible to look away. She wasn't flustered, wasn't rattled. She was calm, clear, and unapologetic. "People will always have opinions about women who speak up," she said, looking directly at Joy, "especially women of color. But I didn't come here to win your approval. I came here to talk about issues that matter." The sincerity in her voice created a ripple through the studio. Even the most cynical viewers could feel the authenticity of her words. Meghan wasn't just defending herself. She was drawing a line in the sand against mockery, against bias, and against the relentless pressure to justify her existence. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every unfiltered moment. After the segment ended, Meghan stayed professional, thanking each co-host politely, even Joy. But when the cameras stopped rolling, a brief moment unfolded that would soon make its way into online gossip columns. Joy reportedly muttered under her breath, still playing the victim card. Meghan turned, looked her in the eye, and said clearly, "You don't have to believe me, but you should stop pretending cruelty is comedy." Then she walked off, sat with her team, her head held high. The room remained in stunned silence, the tension palpable. Producers shuffled nervously, unsure whether to address the exchange or pretend it didn't happen. Joy, for her part, seemed briefly shaken before regaining her usual sardonic expression. She made a joke to a crew member about Hollywood types, but it rang hollow. The fire she stoked had burned hot this time. Asterisk as the episode aired later that day. Social media exploded. Clips of the verbal sparring match flooded TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Hashtags like hashtag Meghan vs Joy and hashtag respect the Duchess trended within hours. Opinion was sharply divided. Some hailed Joy for asking hard questions, while others lambasted her for being unprofessional and dismissive. Public figures weighted journalists, celebrities, even a few politicians. Oprah Winfrey tweeted, "Grace under fire. Meghan, as always, you held your own." The tweet garnered millions of likes. On the other hand, conservative pundits praised Joy, calling her the only one brave enough to say what we're all thinking. The debate became a cultural moment, reflecting the broader divide over how society treats women in the spotlight, especially women who defy expectations. Meghan had once again become the center of a media storm, but this time, she controlled the narrative. The next day on The View, Joy addressed the controversy but not with an apology. Instead, she doubled down. "I'm a comedian. I ask tough questions. If people don't like it, maybe they shouldn't come on the show." Whoopi looked unimpressed, and Sunny Hostin visibly cringed. Meghan, meanwhile, released a calm, pre-recorded video thanking viewers for supporting her charity efforts and urging people to focus on the work, not the drama. It was a tactical move, professional, above the fray, and deeply effective. While Joy's comments continued to spark debate, Meghan's silence spoke louder. She had no need to defend herself further. The audience had seen the exchange. They knew who kept their dignity intact, and in the court of public opinion, perception mattered as much as truth. Asterisk in the days that followed, networks and talk shows across the country dissected every frame of the segment. Analysts examined Joy's tone, Meghan's body language, and the studio's awkward silence. Some speculated about behind-the-scenes tensions at The View, while others questioned whether Meghan would ever return to live interviews. Yet, Meghan appeared unfazed. She was photographed visiting a local school, smiling with children, holding books, and speaking about empowerment. The image went viral, not because of what had happened on the show, but because of what she chose to do afterward. Joy, meanwhile, faced mounting pressure from advocacy groups who accused her of perpetuating racial and gender stereotypes. Petitions began circulating, calling for a public apology or even suspension. ABC remained silent for now. Asterisk eventually, the headlines faded, but the impact lingered. Meghan's team confirmed that she would continue her public advocacy undeterred by media drama. "We don't let moments like that define us," she said in an interview weeks later. "We define ourselves by what we do next." The showdown with Joy Behar had become a flashpoint not just for Meghan, but for the entire media landscape. It forced a conversation about civility, responsibility, and the blurry line between commentary and cruelty. Meghan walked away from the experience with her integrity intact, perhaps even more respected than before. Joy, on the other hand, would forever be remembered for that one fateful morning when her sarcasm collided with someone who refused to be belittled. In the end, it wasn't just a television spat, it was a battle of values. Asterisk, and through it all, the audience watched, judged, and remembered. Meghan, the woman accused of seeking attention, proved she could handle it with grace. Joy, the woman known for her biting wit, learned that sometimes words leave bruises that laughter can't hide. The View had promised a conversation, but what it delivered was a confrontation that reflected a society still grappling with who gets to speak, who gets mocked, and who gets the last word. Asterisk.